Welcome to HB Reddit Stories. Today we will see stories of r/am I the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents I'm not changing my name because of their name regret? I'm 16M, my parents' youngest kid and the only kid the name based on what they liked versus what the family wanted them to name us. My siblings were all named after family members like both my dad's and mom's families prefer. By the time they got around to having me, they were live F this crap and told their family they were choosing a name based on what they liked and not based on family. So they named me Sunny. Yeah, the girl version of Sunny. I don't care. I don't think Sunny is girly because it has a U versus an O. But anyway. My parents started to regret my name when I was maybe 10. I don't remember exactly when, but I can remember being about 10 and my parents started sometimes calling me by my middle name and only stopping when I told them it was weird and I liked my first name. When I was 13 they asked me if I ever went by a nickname and I said no. Last year they said some kids change their names before graduating high school because they want something more grown up and they want to save the added expense of changing the name on their degree. I was like, oh, I guess if people want that it makes sense. Then I said it must suck to hate your name. 6 months ago my parents said I look like a James nicknamed Jamie. I asked them why they thought that and they said I just had that look. They asked what I thought of the name and I said I like Jamie but prefer Sunny. Then they asked if I liked the name Luke and I said no. In June they asked me if I would consider letting them change my name to something different. They said they feel like they named me as a big FU to their families but felt bad that I had such an unserious name for a man. I told them I didn't want to change my name and I always loved the way they talked about finding my name. They said their feelings had changed and they felt like the name being cute and light and full of hope wasn't great for going into my adult years. They said they deeply regretted it. I told them I was glad they made the choice they did and they shouldn't stress it. But last week they got the paperwork for a legal name change and presented me with like 3 name choices and asked me to pick. They said they really didn't want to live with the guilt. I told them I'm not changing my name because of their name regret. I told them how I feel about my name is more important now. They told me I should at least think of their feelings and that I should consider the future and whether I'll be taken seriously. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole, your parents sound exhausting. Opie replies. They're reminding me of my grandparents these days and I don't mean that in a good way. I mean, this is just sad, being cute and light and full of hope wasn't great for going into my adult years. Opie, please go forth into your adult years being cute and light and full of hope. Last year they said some kids changed their names before graduating high school because they want something more grown up and they want to save the added expense of changing the name on their degree. LOL, this is 100% not a thing. Honestly, your parents sound a bit unhinged. Sadly, at 16 they can legally change your name without consent in the US, at least in the majority of states. The upside is that you will be able to legally change it back when you turn 18. Make it clear to your parents that if they were to do that there would be serious long-term consequences for your relationship and that you will never answer to or acknowledge that name under any circumstances and will have your name changed back the day you turn 18. Not the a-hole, but your parents appear to be struggling with some major mental health issues. Maybe talk to one of the counselors at your school about what's going on at home. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help pay for my younger brother's college because my dad never saved up for him? I, 26F, graduated from college a couple of years ago. I worked my butt off to get through school, juggling scholarships, loans, and part-time jobs to pay for everything on my own. My dad, 55M, remarried when I was 18, and I have a half-brother, 17M, who's about to graduate high school. Recently, my dad asked if I could help out with my brother's college expenses because he and his wife didn't save up for it. He said I should be able to afford it now that I have a full-time job, and because I got lucky with scholarships, it would only be fair if I helped my brother since family helps family. I love my brother, but I told my dad I can't be responsible for his education, especially when I had to figure everything out on my own. My dad didn't give me any financial support during college, so I don't see why it's suddenly my responsibility now. He got mad, called me selfish, and now both my stepmom and brother are giving me the cold shoulder. I feel guilty because my brother has nothing to do with this, but at the same time, I just started my career and am trying to build a life of my own. Am I the a-hole for saying no to helping pay for my brother's education? Top comments. Not the a-hole. Good for you. It is crazy for your dad to expect you to do his job for him. You never saved up for your brother's school either, but more to the point, it was never even your responsibility to do that. Your job right now is to get your life established, maybe save up a house, or a trip you'd like to take. You wouldn't be an a-hole even if you set a hard rule that $0 go from you to them. I think you should. Maybe someday, but not when your dad is 55. He's the responsible grown-up, or should be, and it's time for him and his wife to act the part. Opie replies. Thank you. I feel like he wants me to compensate for the mistakes he made some years ago, that's why he is asking me to try and pay for my brother's college. Not the a-hole. You didn't get lucky with scholarships. You earned them. If your brother isn't similarly talented academically or with sports or whatnot, that's his problem. You're not expected to do his homework for him to get good grades, or to go to sports or club practices for him, so likewise you wouldn't be paying for anything that you got with your scholarships. There's no reason why you have to pay for your father, your stepmom, and your brother's poor choices/bad money management. Especially if you had to do it on your own. He can do it on his own too, since you proved it can be done. Not the a-hole. They see you as someone earning money with no children. Not cool. But you are just starting, so do what you need to do for you. Opie replies. That's exactly what I thought, Oswell. He thinks I don't have any children, so my money that I earn should be invested in my brother's college when it was his job to do so. Next story. Am I the a-hole? I told him I would never again bake him something. My husband is lactose intolerant, but he likes banana cake. For his birthday, I baked a 2-layer banana cake and made the recipe of a vegan frosting and a vegan toffee sauce that was really good. When we were going to sing the usual happy birthday song, he stood up and was walking over the cake table while I was saying that I had baked a banana cake for him with vegan frosting and sauce. His answer, in front of everyone, was that he didn't know why I had baked him some cake if I already knew he didn't like them, because he has not eaten in so many years that he doesn't even like it anymore. I felt hurt and didn't say a thing there. I thought that he would appreciate me baking a cake for his birthday because that's what his mom used to do when he was a kid, and he always makes a comment about me not baking the kids' cakes. Every time I go to the local bakery, I get him a banana cake and he eats it and says how much he likes it. The rest of the celebration, I was trying to act normal, but he noticed, and when everyone left, he asked if I was okay. I said I was never going to bake him something. His answer was, "Thank you," and that I was being unfair with him because I should have already known. Worst of all of this was that my birthday is the same day as his. So I baked another cake for me because I wanted a chocolate cake, but this is just venting. Am I the a-hole? Reddit. Top comments. Not the a-hole. So he eats banana cakes from the bakery all the time, but he also hasn't had one in years? Yikes, what a gaslighter. Luckily he only made himself look bad. Next time you go to the bakery, only buy yourself a treat. You don't know what he likes after all. Info. So if he's been eating and enjoying the bakery cakes you've been getting him, he is clearly lying for the audience. Why would he do that? Why on earth would your husband tell a lie, in public, on both of your birthdays, in order to humiliate you and make you look bad in front of everyone after you'd put out all that special effort for him? What your husband did was extremely hostile. Aggressively so. And then his gaslighty thing, at last, Reddit, actual gaslighting, where he tells you that you should already know. When you do know. You know that he eats banana cake all the damn time. So, I'm not suggesting that this is the hill your marriage should die on, but lying to humiliate your wife in public on her birthday is a very, very bad look. I think that if I were you, I'd insist on marital counseling. Yesterday. And if he refused, I might take a nice little break until he agreed. It's not okay for him to do this to you. You don't have to tolerate it. Not the a-hole. My ex was like this. It's the reason I don't bake for men anymore unless I know it will be appreciated. My ex could never understand why he never got anything baked from me after that happened. It's amazing the cognitive dissonance some men have when they complain about what you give them and then also complain when they get nothing because you're sick of their BS. Next story. Am I the a-hole for making my mom's life difficult by making her fight for custody? My dad died in June. He had custody of me, 16. My mom lives in another state. She moved when I was 7 because her husband got a new job and wanted a better life for his kids. Mom wanted to take me. She and dad battled it out in court. I was asked what I wanted by a judge. It was a really bad time for me. I told the judge I wanted my mom but didn't want to leave my dad, my friends, or my family. I told him I really didn't want to go. She was really kind to me. I don't remember everything she said. But I do remember her apologizing for me being in that position. She decided to give dad custody of me and gave mom summer parenting time and weekly calls to me. I begged mom not to leave. She told me she had to but wanted me to come with them. I told her I didn't want to leave dad behind but I didn't want to be left behind. She left and told me nothing much would change. For a while the calls were great and all. But then she started putting her stepkids, who were under 5 when mom and her husband moved, on the phone after 2 minutes of us talking. The calls were meant to be for her and me. But she wanted me to keep the bond with her stepkids. I never had a bond with them so the calls sucked and I started ending the calls when she would pass the phone to everyone else. Mom never came back on the phone so I didn't need to stay on the phone. She'd correct me for it and I'd tell her I wanted to talk to her and not them. The calls stayed on the court order but they were at most 5 minutes instead of 20 minutes. Summers the first spent 5 to 7 weeks with mom. She'd act so excited to see me but we never really got time for just us. Her stepkids were always added on because her husband would be at work and when he'd get home he'd join us. I asked for time with just my mom and she'd ignore me. I grew more resentful of it all. My dad died right before I was due to fly out to mom's. I don't want to live with her so I asked my grandparents if they could file for custody quickly. There was an emergency hearing because of the situation and mom had to fly out for it. She wanted custody. She told the judge. But the judge said I could temporarily stay with my grandparents until a formal court date. Court is a little over a week away. My mom has tried to convince me to move in with her. She told me I should be with my family and my parents. I told her she's my only parent left but she chose her husband and his kids over me before so why should I choose her now? She told me I should understand that she didn't want to end her marriage over a good opportunity and how I could have gone with them. She told me she couldn't let his kids down after she became mom to them. I told her she could separate me from one of my parents. Then I pointed out she prioritized them over me. She told me it's not a reason to make her life harder by having to fight for custody of her son who already lost his other parent. She told me to be fair about this. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. My condolences on your loss. I realize that you're paraphrasing but she showed her true colors when saying that the opportunity in moving was better than the opportunity to being in your life on a day-to-day basis. I suspect that there are some of factors behind her newly polished desire to see you more. Social stigma. What will everyone in her immediate circle think that, when she is left as the only living parent, you opt to live with someone else? Everyone will now know that the relationship between the two of you is not as she has probably described and uncover her awful behavior. She has probably spun some yarn around it all being your father's fault. Financial. A. She will have to continue or start paying child support. B. She will have had direct access to any inheritance and probably had plans to spread it between all of her children and not to the legal legatee. As an aside on this matter, this is not fiction, it is a regular viewpoint when stepchildren are involved. Fairness is always a word bandied around when parent and step-parent conveniently forget that step-sibs have neither moral nor legal right to any monies or properties left. You really need to make sure this doesn't happen. Speak to your GPs and lawyers stat. Your GPs may need to take this to court, the sooner the better, to protect your assets. C. She plans to use your inheritance to finance her life, pay off the mortgage etc. You would never see the money again. D. If she didn't before, she will now have to fund your ticket to visit, if the court insists you do. She was not fair in moving a plane right away. She was not fair to try to force you to interact with step-sibs. She was not fair in ignoring your honest request for one-to-one time with her. She was not fair prioritizing step-sibs over you. She was not fair trying to emotionally blackmail a child. She, patently, is wholly focused on herself and her own happiness with absolutely no regard to yours. In expecting you to move so far away from your existing support base, especially at an age where making new friends is more challenging, when you are so vulnerable and still grieving, shows a marked lack of empathy and actual care for you and your mental health. You are definitely not the a-hole, and I suggest you focus on your happiness and comfort rather than allow yourself to be used. I don't want to live with her. That's it. You are 16 and don't want to live with someone with whom your parental bond has been fraying for years. You have friends and family, and 2 years left of a life. Where you are. You've lost your dad and now your mother wants you to lose that life too. At this point I think she wants custody because it would be easier for her. Fairness has nothing to do with it. You do what's best for you. I'm very sorry for the loss of your dad. Not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to sleep on the sofa in my own home? I live with my girlfriend. We have a 2-bedroom apartment, but the second bedroom is more of a box room, so it can't actually fit a bed, so I use it as an office as I work from home. At the weekend my girlfriend and I had plans to go for food then the cinema. She invited her cousin, which I was fine with. The plan was to pick her cousin up, go for food, go to the cinema and then drop her off at home. When the movie finished my girlfriend asked her cousin if she wanted to stay over. Her cousin is 17. Her cousin said yeah, and my girlfriend asked me if I'd sleep on the sofa. I said that her cousin can have the sofa, but my girlfriend got annoyed and said her cousin should have the bed. She said her cousin is a guest so shouldn't have the sofa, but I just said that I live there so I shouldn't be on the sofa. I said my girlfriend is the one who decided to ask her cousin to stay over so I shouldn't have to give up my bed. My girlfriend said I was being unreasonable and that it would be wrong to give her cousin the sofa, but I refused to change my mind. Am I the a-hole for not sleeping on the sofa in my own home? Top comments. Not the a-hole. The teenager is fine on the couch. If she is so worried, she can sleep on the couch with cousin on a blanket pallet on the floor. You don't kick someone out of their own bed without properly discussing it and changing the sheets. Not the a-hole. You weren't planning on having overnight company and weren't the one to invite said company. If anything, your girlfriend AITA for not making sure you were okay with it before inviting a guest to sleep in your bed. Not the a-hole. You two need to talk about your differing views and expectations when it comes to guests. She's wrong to kick you out of your own bed. It is yours. Perhaps she would be comfortable giving up her bed for a guest, but that does not mean you have to be. Find another solution for guests moving forward, such as an air mattress or a pull-out sofa. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel HB Reddit Stories.